And then, in the petroleum industry, you're fractionating usable elements of whatever petroleum product you're trying to render. And here they get this oil-like substance that then has to be piped or trucked south to American refineries that can handle heavy, dirty oil. And then it needs to be heated again. So when you think of the amount of fossil fuel that is used simply to get this to the factory where it can be turned into something resembling oil, it's called synthetic crude. It is cheap and abundant, but extraordinarily wasteful.
Why is the security so heavy around the camps?
I think there is anxiety around protesters. I think the bitumen industry has been a pariah in the petroleum industry for decades now, and it's been a target of environmental groups and environmental activists. They really honestly don't have that much to worry about because it's so remote. It's so hard to get there. And there's only one road in, one road out. And again, there are police everywhere. I mean, I've really never been certainly in in North America, in a place that felt like it had such a heavy police/security presence. There are just many different private companies working up there, along with the RCMP and the city police. And I think there is, I think the workers also, because it's so, I mean, you hear about this in Williston, North Dakota, and other boom towns in Texas. When you get that many men together, far from their families, working extraordinarily hard, paid extraordinarily well, the incidence of drug use and other kinds of violence, internal and external, are elevated because the normal governors aren't there. There's really a lack of civility, frankly, and that the normal stabilizing characteristics of a multi-gendered, multi-generational society are substituted by police, order, fencing, really rigorous systems of control. You check in, you check out. It's a kind of like a low security prison, I would say, comparable to that. And what fire is doing, why it's hot, is what the heat does is it releases vapor, it releases hydrocarbons from the fuels around it. That's the purpose of the heat. And so what the fire is sensing that we can't see is vapor. And that's why you see these explosive fireballs and massive surges of flame coming out of big boreal fires, because that's the superheated vapor rising up and then ignited. So imagine an empty gas can, the way, even though there might not be a lot of liquid in it, it will still explode in a spectacular fashion. Well, that's really what the fire is enabling in the forest, for all those hydrocarbons to release in this gaseous cloud that then ignites. And that's when you see, especially a boreal fire in full run, it's called a rank 6. It's comparable to a Category 5 hurricane. These flames can be 300 feet tall. They can send fireballs just kind of rolling up into the smoke column for another 1,000 feet. The fire front can be many miles wide. They're really less like fires and more like tidal waves of flame, just rolling across the landscape.
Well, they're golden handcuffs. It's completely suicidal.
Yeah, no, you're chained in a way. You're kind of handcuffed to the bumper of this juggernaut. And so you have to keep running behind it. You have to keep up with it, but it's going to keep going. And it is suicidal. And what a hallmark I feel of the 2020s is this increasingly extreme dissonance that we find ourselves in. Like almost everybody alive now is experiencing climate disruption of one kind or another. These deluge-like floods that would have been a normal thunderstorm 20 years ago, and now cars are floating around. And then, the analog or the corollary to that are these terrible fires, terrible droughts, and heat waves, all of which are directly traceable to our appetite for fossil fuels. And and yet separating ourselves from that, stopping that, getting off that wheel, if you will, seems impossible for so many. And